Alright, so I'm going to be swapping the screens on these two MacBook Pros, model A1707. This is a late 2016 model, and shame on Apple for knowing that there's this issue. It's called Flexgate, and it causes the screen to have issues turning on. Right now, this screen, if you have it open to a certain position, then the screen will come on. I don't know if you can see. So the screen's on. If I open it all the way, you see the screen just turns off. All right. I don't want to show the customer's username, but yeah, if you open and close it, like you can kind of find a position where it will kind of stay on. But yeah, and this is they need this for their work. So because they kind of need it right away, they had another Mac, and luckily this screen is okay. But here you can see this screen is fine, right? See, I can open, close it, okay, and it's perfectly fine. But the other screen, it has that issue where you open it, you can open it like slightly. Oh, it just turned itself off, so it's not even gonna stay open on that. Come on. Yeah, see, so now it's even having issues. Okay, there we go. So it's on. If I open the screen more, it shuts off, see? So shame on Apple. They know this is an issue. You see this is on, but the screen is dead. Okay, I'm gonna just force shut it off now. All right. They know this issue is there, but they're waiting for a class action lawsuit before they do anything. So if you guys have this issue, I don't know where you would go to do the class action lawsuit, but yeah, so here, see, this one's perfectly fine. All right. You can see the screen is on and this is on, so I'm going to turn this one off and then we're going to swap the screens. But anyways, this is a huge pain. Apple knows it's a problem. They're denying it because they don't want to fix it. These screens online are super expensive. They're like five, 600, maybe even 700 for a brand new. So yeah, try and get a class action. I don't know. I'm sure people are doing something about it. But try and get that to go through, and then you guys can get your screens replaced for free from Apple. Anyways, what you're going to need is a Pentalobe P5 screwdriver to remove the bottom screws. And then to remove the hinge screws, you'll need a T8 or Torx 8. All right. I didn't mention, but the Pentalobe the P5 is also 1.2. And then you'll also need a Pentalobe 0.8, or known as a P2 if you're using like the iFixit tools. Then you also need a Torx 3 or T3 and a Torx 5 or T5. Okay, first thing we're going to do is use the P5 or the Pentalobe 1.2 and remove all the screws from the bottom. I'm going to have to try and keep all these screws like really nice and organized because I'm swapping two MacBook screens. So you want to keep the same screws in order, put them back exactly where you got them. So if you got them from back here, put them back there. You don't want to switch the screws around because they are different size, shapes, and lengths. So it's very important you don't swap the screws around. You can cause some damage doing that. All right. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and remove these. I've done several videos opening these up, replacing screens, replacing batteries, and things like that. And I can tell when there's a known defect. Like my most popular videos are Apple defect videos. So the keyboard, the butterfly keyboard issue, those had issues. That's like one of my most popular. And then there's the 2017 MacBook battery issue. That's another very popular one. Anyways, once you get these screws out, you'll want to use a suction cup. I find it's easiest if you have the hinge facing towards you. Take the suction cup, pull on it, use that to pull this up, get underneath either with your fingernails or pry tools. All right, whatever you have, whatever works. Then go down here and then pop that up. I use my thumb to push down there while I pull up with my fingers, and that's how I pop the clips, just like that. All right, there's usually some clips in the middle. Usually once you pull the two clips on the sides, that clip will automatically come out as well. All right, after that you have the MacBook up like this. I have this padded thing to work on. It's an anti-static mat from packaging. Anyways, I use my hand to grab here, and then I push down with my fingers here while keeping my pinky over the top, so that way the MacBook won't fall over if I release this lid. So just grab that. right? You want to be careful not to scrape your fingers on the back here. So I actually have my fingernails there. So when I pull it, my fingernails will scrape, not my fingers, right? Just like that. All right, same thing with the other side. Usually it will come out once you get that side. But basically we're just pulling to slide this cover off. All right, so I'm gonna set this cover aside. I'm probably gonna have to pause the video a few times to clean the dust out of these things because they are kind of dusty inside. All right, but again, I am going to be basically doing this same repair twice. So I don't know if you want to see both. You can watch through the whole thing. All right, once you do that, you want to peel up this plastic thing. It's already coming out, but let's zoom in. Okay, so you peel this up. There's adhesive underneath. Just peel that off like that. All right, we'll set that aside. Okay, I'm gonna have to make sure I keep these things separate. All right, then you got the battery connector here. So lift up this plastic tab, and then there's stuff under here. I'm gonna clean that out. All right, so lift that up, and then this tab, you wanna lift it up with your fingernail or a plastic pry tool. After you lift that up, you can grab this connector. Okay, just get underneath as close as you can because you don't wanna yank at this springy side. So you wanna get as close to the connector as you can, and then just pull this connector back, just like that. You might have to wiggle it a little. All right, then to disconnect the battery, we're gonna go ahead and remove this T5 screw. Okay. All right, remove that T5 screw. Okay, and as you can see, once you remove that T5 screw, this metal bracket kind of stays down. So what you want to do is get your plastic pry tool or fingernail under there, and then you want to pull this up slightly just so it disconnects the battery from the main board, okay? And you want to be careful with this cable too. You don't want to damage it. So just hold that cable out of the way, pull that up slightly, and here you can see now the battery thing stays disconnected. All right, once you get that disconnected, you want to open up the MacBook. All right, let me zoom out. And then press and hold the power button for about 10 to 15 seconds. This is very important. If you're messing with the screen cables, you're gonna wanna drain the power from the MacBook so that there's no risk of damaging the connectors with any electricity shorting. All right, so there we go. Close that up. All right, so now we're gonna remove all these other little components. So since we're already using the T5 screwdriver, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the other T5 screws. So there's 4 T5 screws holding this board in place, which is the screen board. Okay, so I'm gonna remove those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, remove those. So we're gonna remove these 4 screws along here first, and then there's 1 T5 screw that's being held, that's holding down the wireless antennas. So we got those 4 screws out. Now we're gonna remove the 1 screw underneath the wireless antennas here, okay? Just move that out of the way, move the cables out of the way, and then get this screw out. All right, it's kind of caught underneath the cables, so kind of have to move the cables out of the way. All right, just like that. All right, so we got all those screws out. Now we're gonna disconnect the antenna wires. You just get underneath as close as you can to the tail, and then you just pull it straight up. All right, just like that. And do this for all 3. You can use a plastic pry tool or whatever. I just like to use my fingernails because I have them on hand. On hand, yep. And it's easier to do that than getting a bunch of different plastic pry tools for each thing. Anyways, then we're gonna take the T3 screwdriver, or the Torx 3. Let me zoom out a bit. And then we're gonna remove these 2 little hinge covers, okay? So we're gonna remove those. Okay. All right, once you remove the 2 screws, you'll lift up the hinge cover from here slightly at an angle and then pull it back out. All right, just like that. Same thing with the other side. Remove those 2 screws. Okay. All right, so we got that. Then same thing, lift this up and then pull it back. Okay, there we go. So now we're getting there. We're gonna remove all these screws holding this in place. So there's these two brackets. Since I'm swapping screens, I don't actually have to take these little brackets off, but everything else I'm gonna have to take out, okay? So the screens, they'll all have this metal bracket. You can leave that on there because that's part of the screen assembly. So we're gonna remove these two extra long screws here. Okay. And these hold these, I don't know what these are for, but they're like spring loaded or something. So once you remove those two screws, this piece can like come out and like the springs allow it to like spin around. It's kind of, I don't know what it's for. All right, then we're gonna remove the 4 screws, these two holding this bracket down, and then these two holding this part that sandwiches the cable down to keep it from moving around. All right. Again, you want to keep all these screws in order because they are different size, shapes, and lengths. You don't want to get them all mixed up. All right. All right, so we're going to remove all 4 of these. Okay. All right, then we're going to remove these little metal brackets. So this metal bracket covers the connector. So we'll take that out and set that aside. Again, try and keep them in order. And then we'll remove this little bracket as well. Okay. Now we're going to remove the last 2 screws holding this one. Okay, so now we got everything out except for the wireless antennas. We do want to disconnect the screen cable here, so just get your fingernail or pry tool underneath and pop this up while you want to hold this board down. Normally you can leave the T5 screws here, the 4 T5 screws there, and it'll hold the board down for you, but I remove them in the order so it makes me so I don't have to move my or switch screwdrivers as often. All right, so there we go, disconnected the LCD or LVDS connector. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to remove all these screws for the wireless antennas using the P2 or the Pentalobe 0.8. Okay, so we're going to switch to that, and then we're going to remove all these screws. So we're going to remove, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 on each side. Okay, and again, I like to keep all these screws in order. Just so I can put them back exactly where I got them from. So I like to, if there's 8 screws in a row, I put the same exact 8 screws in that same row. I don't like switching them around, even if they are the same kind of screw. Sometimes the threading is a tiny bit different, and each time you change it, it can make things a little bit less secure. So I don't know. It's extra work that doesn't need to be done, but I like to do it just to make sure everything is nice and neat. All right. Why is this screw not going in? Oh, there we go. Okay. Just like this. Okay, and then we're going to remove the screws from this side. Same thing. I'm going to start from this side so I can easily line it up on my table to keep track of them better. Okay. All right, so we've got all those screws out. We're gonna pull out the wireless antenna. So let me zoom out so you can see this a little bit better. All right, so to remove the wireless antennas, what you do, you just get underneath here. So this has air vents in it, and then you just pull this up, all right? You wanna go as close to the center as you can, and then I slide my fingernails over underneath the wireless antenna bar, and I kind of wiggle this as I kind of pull it up, all right? And there we go, this thing comes out. So here you can see this antenna goes underneath this board, but at the same time it goes on top of these things. So you'll see why that's important later, all right? So now that we got this, we're gonna wiggle this to get these antennas out. All right, these antennas are a little tricky to put back. It's gonna help to actually use some tweezers for this. So actually let me get my tweezers for this job. All right, I need to be careful because I'm gonna drop some stuff, I think, in this process. Okay, let me get my tweezers. All right. Hopefully the stuff stayed in place. Okay, oh, most of it stayed in place. I dropped one piece. Okay. All right, so now what we're gonna do, now that we got all of this out, we're gonna remove the hinge screws here. And also when I put the hinge screws, I like to use thread locker. To keep it more the same, I'm gonna use blue thread locker this time, just in case the customer ever needs to bring it to Apple. They won't be like, why is there red thread locker here? But I would recommend using red thread locker on these. All right, so to remove the screen, what you want to do, let me zoom out more. Okay, you want to open the screen all the way. Okay, all the way, I mean like completely. All right, once you do that, what you want to do is take your T8 screwdriver, and we're going to remove the 6 screws from the hinges. Okay, so 3 on each side, of course. All right, I'm going to try and put these screws somewhere to keep them safe. Okay, and then you want to hold the screen up. I use my legs to kind of hold the screen up while I'm taking these screws out because they are going to eventually fall out. Okay, and I'm going to try and keep all the other components, the screws and everything. I'm going to put the same screws from the same computer back in the same computer. Okay. All right, so now that we got all 6 screws out, you can let the screen fall slightly. And after you let the screen fall about 90 degrees, then you might have a little more than 90 degrees, then you can kind of lift it out. Be very careful with the cable, and that's how you remove the screen, okay? So again, since I'm swapping the screens, I left these 2 metal things here, but usually if you buy a replacement, you'll have to take these metal things and put them onto the new screen. All right, so we got that screen out. Now we're gonna set this MacBook aside, and we're gonna open up the second MacBook, all right? Be very careful with that. Okay, we're gonna get the second MacBook now. All right. And then we're gonna basically repeat the same exact process. The only difference is now we're gonna swap the screens, okay? So same thing, get your P5 or Pentalobe 1.2 screwdriver. Same thing, we're gonna take out all these screws. Okay, I'm gonna try and keep all these screws in order. Again, they are different size, shape, and lengths. Okay. And I am going to have to, or I'm gonna clean out the dust after as well, just to keep it nice and clean inside. So to clean out the dust, I use a toothbrush, and then I just loosen up the dust from the fan blades, and then I use a electric air blower that I have to clean it out. The one I have is it's called DataVac by Metrovac, and it's designed to actually clean out computers, right? So anyways, removed all those T5 screws. I'm gonna switch, or sorry, Pentalobe P5 screws. All right, now we're gonna use the suction cup, flip the thing over, same thing, suction cup, pull it up, get your fingers underneath or pry tools, same thing, go down the side, push that up. All right, same thing with this one, go down the side, pull it up. All right, and then flip it back over, same thing. Grab the side, again, make your nails so that they come in contact with the metal, not your fingers. And then same thing, push down while you kind of pull down, right? Oh, this one's much more difficult for some reason. So push down, pull down. There we go. Okay, once you get that one side, usually the other side will come out a lot easier, so you can go like this, and then I just use my thumb to push like that, and there we go. All right, so we got this bottom cover off. And also you want to keep in mind the bottom covers, you don't want to mix those up either, because there are the serial numbers on it, and you don't want to mix those up. So if you are working on two like I'm doing, you don't want to mix them up, because then the serial number from the bottom panel won't match the serial number from the board number, okay? So keep that in mind. All right. So clean that up. I'm going to put that one separate so I don't get confused. All right, so same thing. We're going to peel this off. So all this stuff, I'm going to use my desk, the left side for this one and the right side for the old one that I did earlier. Okay. All right, so switch that over there. Okay, now we're going to peel this up. Same thing, just like before. Let's zoom in. All right, use this plastic tab here, pull it up slightly, get your fingernail or pry tool under there, flip that little tab up just like that, get your fingernail or tweezers there, grab the cable, wiggle and pull it back. All right, just like this. Move this cable out of the way, T5 screw, undo that. All right. Okay, same thing. Get underneath this metal tab, lift it up, bend it up slightly so that it's no longer making contact. All right. You'll see it's no longer touching the contacts. All right, let's zoom back out. So now we're going to open up the computer again, just like the other one. Press and hold the power button 10 to 15 seconds. All right. This will drain all the power to prevent any accidental damage to the board. All right. It won't completely prevent you from damaging it, but if you do drop something metal or something, there's a lot less chance you'll damage anything. All right, close it back up, and then we're going to remove all these T5 screws just like the other one. Okay, same thing, remove these. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Let me make sure this is flipped over right. Okay. Oh, I'm getting this stuff. Here we go. Okay. 4. Right, and then the one for the wireless antennas. Looks like this one, the other one was worked on. This one, the antennas, see, as you can see how they're routed, that's how they're supposed to be, kind of more neat and organized. All right, so now that we got the T5 screws out, we're gonna pull up these antennas. Same thing, just get underneath, and then at the tails, just pull it up, just like that. Same thing, underneath the tail, pull it up. Right, underneath the tail, pull it up. There we go. All right, so we're done with the T5 screwdriver. Now we're gonna switch to the T3. Okay, we're going to remove these little hinge covers again. All right. Okay, just like that. Oops, sorry. I'm going off the camera. So I removed these 2 screws. Then again, lift that up, pull it back. All right, go back to this side. Remove this one. Sorry, I was off camera for the other one. But you get the idea, same exact thing. All right, come on, go. All right, got those 2 out, same thing, lift this up, pull it back, set that aside. All right, now we're gonna remove all the rest of the T3 screws here, okay? So same thing like the other one, we'll remove these 2. All right, same thing with these two. Oops, I went off too far. Okay, now I have a little less space. Let me see if I can find a way to fit all this. All right. Okay, then we'll take out this bracket. This bracket. All right, take this metal plate off, set it aside. All right. Then we'll pop this cable up while holding this down. All right, and then we'll take off this bracket as well. Doesn't really matter the order you do it, as long as you take out stuff that are in the way. Okay. Some people ask me like if it matters if they remove certain things. Usually if you need to remove it, you'll know. Okay, so here, now we got that connector out. All right, so now we're going to remove the antenna screws. All right, I think everything else is out. Yep. All right, so we'll switch to the Pentalobe 0.8 or P2, and we'll remove the antenna screws. Just like before. Okay. Just like this. Then the other side, same thing. Okay, so we got all those screws out. Now we're going to remove the wireless antennas just like before. Okay, just grab underneath. All right, and then go underneath the wireless antenna bar, and there we go. Wiggle this out. Okay, just like this. It might get caught, so you want to be careful. All right. And one thing I didn't mention, there's this little metal bar here that when you slot it down, it actually holds it in place. And that's why it's kind of hard to pull it up. It has this little metal bracket that holds it down. All right, so now that we got that done, let's flip it over. We're gonna take the screen out. So I'm gonna zoom out again. There you go. Again, open the screen all the way completely. Have the screen again resting in your lap so you have a way to catch it. So it doesn't fall down. All right, take out these 6 screws here. I'm gonna set them over here. Uh-oh, what happened? All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I haven't had my phone overheat in a while. I forgot I left my battery pack charging on my phone case. So anyways, we're gonna continue removing the screws. Okay, remove those 3 and then remove these 3. That was almost done too. I can't believe it. Every once in a while I forget that my phone, I left it charging with the case, and then if you're wondering why sometimes it makes like a hissing sound, that's why. All right, once you remove those 6 screws, just like before, let the screen drop a little bit more than 90 degrees, and then just pull the screen up. Right, make sure to do this slowly because it might get caught. You want to make sure that you release all the things before you just yank it out. Okay, so there we go. Got that screen out. Now we're gonna put back the other screen. Okay, so I'm gonna set this screen aside. We'll swap their places. Okay, and now we're gonna put the other screen in. All right, so what you want to do is hold these cables up and out of the way, and then slowly drop the hinges back in just like before. All right, just like that. Okay, and then what you want to do, hold this up with your legs, of course, and then get these screws, and you want to loosely put these, you don't want to tighten them all the way down yet, because you want to make sure that the hinges are lined up properly. Okay, and also we're going to have to add some thread locker to these just to make sure that they don't come loose over time. Alright, so we're going to get these 6 screws back in. Alright, once you get those 6 screws back in, slowly close the laptop, okay? You want to slowly close it because there might be some stuff getting caught, and you want to make sure everything is lined up. So you want these edges to line up perfectly. Once you close it, what you do is you loosen the screws just a few turns so that it's no longer making contact with the hinge. Alright, once you do that, you can pinch the corners to get the whole screen lined up properly. You want to make sure that both sides or all 4 corners are flush together, okay? Alright, this is very important. If you don't do this, then the cover will scrape on the sides and it can damage the screen. Okay, just like that. Alright, now we're going to get the thread locker. Let me zoom in more. Okay, what you do, take the screw out, get this blue thread locker stuff. I'm going to do it off to the side here because I don't want to drip it on the computer. Just put a little bit of it on there and then put the screw in. So I'm going to actually do this off to the side. Alright, because I don't want to risk dripping it. Oops, I put a little too much. Let me clean that off. Alright, I don't want to risk dripping it into the MacBook, so I'm going to do it off to the side. So let me make sure this is lined up right. It did move a little bit. Okay. Alright, and we'll grab one from this side. What's going on out there? Okay. Alright, and now that we got one screw on each side, it should be easier to work on this without it moving around. So again, go ahead and remove the rest of the screws, add a little thread locker, and then put the screws back in. You don't need too much. And also, I don't know if you noticed, I twist the screws backwards before I twist them in the right way. That makes sure that they go into the threads properly, and there's a lot less risk of accidentally stripping the screws. Right? Alright, so now we got these screws in. Okay. Alright, so we're done adding the thread locker to all 6 screws. What we're going to do now is spin the thing. Oops, dropped my screwdriver. Okay, now we're going to spin the thing around just like this. You want to make sure to move this out of the way and get this cable on top. These spring-loaded ones, you want to make sure you unroll them. Alright, so we're done with the T8 for now, for this computer. We're going to switch over to the T3. Okay, and I do this in a different order because it's easier this way. But first we're gonna put back these spring-loaded ones. Okay, actually let me zoom in so you can see a bit better. Okay, so first I'm just putting back these spring-loaded connectors because I want it to be when I put the antenna board on top, it's not going to move around. Okay. All right, hold that in place and then put back in that screw. Okay. All right, just like that. Get that connector up out of the way. All right, now the tricky part is putting back this wireless antenna. So there's the little hole where we threaded this through when we took it out. You have to thread it back through that hole. It is a little tricky because the antennas will kind of want to wiggle around. So it helps to actually straighten out these antennas a bit. Okay, and then you kind of want to also curl them so that way they like curve upwards a little bit. All right, and then now we'll thread it through. All right, can be a little tricky. You'll see that the antennas get over here. If they get caught, you're gonna have to use tweezers to kind of help pull them up. I mean, you can use pliers too, but you want to be gentle. All right, here you can see the antennas are trying to like go over underneath, so you have to kind of help lift them up. All right, and I don't see the other antenna. It's getting caught too far over to the other side, so you have to kind of help pull this over. And here you can see now the antenna is peeking through. Then you can grab it and pull it up. Same thing with the metal bracket. You want to make sure it gets pulled up to clear the keyboard. All right, there we go. Make sure you lift up the screen connector or board. And there, now the antenna's in place. You do want to raise this. Make sure you have this lifted up when you pull this forward, so that way you can get it to sit properly. All right, and then push this down and it should latch back in like before. So if I try and pull these, you can see the center stays down. If you did this wrong and you just push it in this way while it's down, you can actually bend this, this metal piece. And if you bend this metal piece, then it won't clip down right. So you'll have to pull this whole antenna back out and then bend this back out to where there's the gap there. Okay. So there we go. We got the wireless antennas in place. We're going to put back all those little screws. Okay. So we're going to switch back to the P2 or the Pentalobe 0.8. And we're going to put back these screws. What I like to do is I like to hold the antenna board forward as much towards the fan as I can. I'll put the one screw on the end here first. All right. Just like that. Then I'll grab the other outside screw, pull this side forward, and then I'll put this screw in. That way the rest of the screws will be pulled as forward as they can be, and you don't need to really hold it anymore. Okay? Then you just go ahead and put back all these screws. These screws are so tiny, they're like poppy seeds. All right. Just get all those screws. You want them to be tight, but you want to be careful not to overdo it, and then you can strip out the top of these screws because they're so small. If you strip that screw, then you'll never be able to take the wireless antenna out again, and you'll never be able to change the screen again, so be very careful. Okay. Alright, so we got all those screws. We'll go to this side and repeat the same process. Pull this forward. Put that screw in. Pull this for temperature again. Sorry about that, my phone overheated again. I'm making it do too much at once. It's uploading a video while I'm doing this. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and continue putting back the screws. All right. I'm gonna have to try and do this quicker before it overheats again. All right, so I got the two outer ones in. So now we're gonna go ahead and put the rest of them. I don't even know if I'll be able to stitch all the clips together now, because my phone complains if I have to stitch longer than I think an hour and a half or something. But, we'll see. Alright, just continue putting back all these P2 or pentalobe 0.8 screws in. Alright, so we got all those screws in. Now we're going to go ahead and put in the T5 screws to make this a little bit more stable. Okay, let's put this one in and just put it loosely at first. Alright, and then we'll get the screw for the wireless antennas. Kind of want to make sure that that antenna bracket is slightly towards the center. Alright, and now I'm going to tighten down all 5 of these screws, but you don't want to tighten these too hard because the aluminum that holds it below is not very strong, but just tighten it to where it's harder to twist. Okay. Alright, there we go. Now we're going to reconnect the LCD or LVDS connector. You might have to push it slightly over towards the middle of the laptop. Alright, but you'll know you did it right when you push it down and then the connector stays in place. Alright, double check all the T5 screws are nice and tight. Okay, so we're good to go there. Now we're going to switch back over to the T3 screwdriver. Get this bracket, put it on top, and then we'll get this bracket and we'll put it on top. So this bracket, if you notice, there's this little metally foamy thing. That side goes face down, okay? This side has the foam as well, but it's an actual foam, and that also goes face down. Alright, so now we're going to put the screws in over here. Okay, I'll usually loosely fit them first until I get all the screws in. Alright, and then tighten it up. Just like that. Just like that. Alright. So if I remember correctly, this is the screen that had the Flexgate issue, so we'll confirm and test it again once I put all of this back together. Alright. Go, so we got all those screws in. Alright, we're going to put these hinge cover brackets back in. Again, you put them in at an angle. If you don't put them in at an angle, then this plastic could end up on top, and you don't want that on top of this metal piece, okay? I'm going to put the other one in as well. It's a little dusty. Alright. Same thing. Make sure the plastic goes underneath. Alright, and then we'll put back these screws. Again, I like to loosely fit them until I make sure all the screws are in. All right, then I'll tighten it down. These are plastic, so you don't want to over tighten or you can damage those. Okay. Alright, now all we gotta do is reattach the wireless antennas and then reconnect the battery. Alright, so the wireless antennas, let me zoom in so you can kind of see. Oops. My phone I think is gonna overheat again. But anyways, get the wireless antennas, make sure you get them lined up properly. The way you know it's lined up is if you try and move your finger or fingernail over it, it stays in place. And then, oops. Alright, make sure to get that in. There we go, and then push it down. It's very important that you get these lined up correct before you push down, or you can easily damage these connectors, okay? Just like that. Okay, and push it down. Wait, this one doesn't want to go. Come on. There we go. Alright, so get all those wireless antennas connected in. Alright, now we're going to switch back to the T5 and put back the battery tab screw. Okay. Just like this. It'll push, oops, sorry. Just like that. It'll push back down the metal tab on its own. There we go. And then we got to put back this connector. So make sure you peel this tab away, the plastic piece. You don't want that to go underneath. You want to get that out of the way. Right? And then get this tab into that little slot. Okay, just like this. All right. Push it over. Make sure you can use this plastic tab to pull it and make sure it's fitted all the way in. You will see the metal tabs on the end sticking out a little bit. That's normal. And then just use your finger and slide it over the lock mechanism. All right. You want to just barely slide it over. I've had other people use some tool or something to try and flip this latch down, and then they end up ripping that latch out. And that latch, if you rip it out, it's really hard to put it back in. So you want to be very careful. All right, then we just take this little plastic cover. What I like to do is I line it up with the screw here, and then I just roll it over. And the way you know it's right is this plastic will like line up with this metal part that's raised here. Then you just press it down and we're good to go. When my phone overheated, I actually also cleaned the dust out of the fan, so it's a bit cleaner. All right. And now we're just gonna put this cover back on. Same way, like opposite way we removed it, you have to have it up slightly in the back here, or I guess towards the front. And then you wanna slide the cover in. It's a little bit tricky to do it because the thing wants to rotate weird. So you wanna just keep checking on it and make sure that this side lines up flush, all right? Then go to the other side, same thing. You might have to pull it back a tad bit and then slide it over, all right? So just like that, and then push it in, all right? Then go back on this side, make sure it's flush. Check both sides, make sure it's flush, and then push it down just like that. All right, now we're gonna switch back to the Pentalobe P5 or Pentalobe 1.2. And then we'll put back all these screws. On some of these models, you do have to plug them in for them to turn back on. And the way you know that is if you press the trackpad and it doesn't click or you don't feel the vibration, then you know that it's not turning on, and you will have to actually plug the MacBook in. Some models don't require that, but some do. I don't remember if this one does. Alright, so we're done with this one. Alright, so that should be good. Should be able to open it up, and if you press and click this, you should feel the mouse button is clicking. I feel it clicking, so it is turning back on. So I know I don't have to plug it in. Alright. actually it just stopped clicking. Okay, so I might have to plug this one in. Actually, it is clicking. Okay, so I'm gonna set this aside. This is the one that has the messed up screen, so I'm probably not gonna see anything unless I mess around with it and work it until it turns on. So I'm gonna set this aside and we're gonna go ahead and work on the other one. All right, so now we're gonna grab the other MacBook back out and we're gonna do exactly the same thing. Grab the other screen, okay? Have this going over the edge slightly. Oops, I need to zoom out, don't I? Okay, and then same thing, hold the connectors for the screen up out of the way. All right, slowly drop that back in place. Okay, just like that. Pull the screen back slightly to get the hinges and then rest that in your lap. All right, we're gonna switch back to the T8 screwdriver. The Torx 8, and then we're gonna put these 6 screws in. Again, you want to just loosely put these screws because you don't want it to be stuck in the wrong position, and then when you close it you can damage the screen. So you want to make sure that you don't put these screws too tight. Alright, so now that we got that, alright, we're going to close the screen up slowly. Okay, just like before. Line it up, make sure everything is flush. Okay, then what you can do is you can actually tighten one down on each side to make it hold itself in place so it doesn't move around like last time. All right, then we'll get the thread locker again. All right, we'll put the thread locker on these screws. All right, just like that. Okay, then we can take the other screw out. Add the thread locker. Same thing, tighten it down. Other side. And I am going to want to clean this one out. The fans on this one's a lot worse. Somebody's cutting something outside. Or is that somebody's car? Oh man. Alright. Last one. Alright, so now we got all 6 hinge screws down. Okay, I'm going to close up the thread locker so it doesn't dry out. Alright, we're done with the T8 screwdriver now. I'm going to flip this back over. Okay, and then just like before, I'm going to actually put, well, we can put the T3 screws for that spring-loaded one like last time first. Okay, gotta hold these over like that. Am I mixing something up here? Okay, that's right. Okay, hold the spring-loaded one in place. Put the screw in. Let me zoom in a little bit for you guys. Right. Put that in. I'm doing a video. Alright, flip this over. Same thing. that screw in. Somebody worked on this before. I can see like a bunch of these pieces, like the tape for this microphone is up. So somebody worked on this before. All right, tighten this one as well. All right, that's all in place. We're gonna switch back over to the T5. Then we're gonna put back the T5 screws to hold the board. Actually, oops, getting ahead of myself. We're gonna have to put the wireless antenna first. Okay, so same like before, kind of group them together, curl them up a little bit. You want to get underneath this board, the video LCD board. All right, you might have to pull it over to the left a little bit so that way the antennas peek over. All right, and slowly pull them up one by one. Then there's the metal bracket under there for the screw. You need to lift that up as well. Okay, just like that. Lift up that board, let this go underneath. Make sure you keep it lifted up as you pull it forward, okay? And then you can slowly push it down and push that middle in so that way it clips just like before. All right, now that we got all of that, we're gonna switch. I guess we can stay with the T5, and we're gonna put down these board screws. Okay. Again, I'm just loosely putting them first. Okay. All right, and the last screw here. All right, tighten that, and then we can tighten the rest down. Just like that. There we go. All right, let's get the antennas back in just like before. Same thing, get it lined up. I'm going to try and curve it the way it should go, if even possible. All right. Come on, go in. Had it in right and then it moved. There we go. Okay, I'm making the cables curve back over to the left the way they should. Alright, just like that. This one's a little weird. It doesn't want to stay up there. But there we go. So the cables should stay that way. All right, let's zoom back out and we're gonna put back the wireless antenna screws. Okay, we're done with the T5 for now. Let's switch back over to the P2 Pentalobe 0.8. Pull the antenna board towards the fan. All right, tighten in the screw towards the outside. Get the other screw here. Go. All right, now we can put the rest in. Whoever did this before was a little sloppy, I can tell. The screws are not as good, don't fit as well. Okay. careful since whoever worked on these before didn't make these screws. They over tightened them, I think. Okay. Alright, got all of those. We'll switch to the other side. We'll repeat the same thing. Pull the wireless antenna towards the fan. Alright. Go. Now just put back all the rest. Alright, last one. Alright, we're done with the pentalobe P2 screws. Now we're going to switch to the T3. Reconnect this. Again, we might have to push it down towards the center. Alright, looks like it's good. Holding in place. Get this connector and we'll put that on. Again, I loosely fit them first. Alright, and then tighten it all the way down. Right, get that bracket. Same thing. Loosely fit one. Line this up. And tighten that down. Oh no, temperature again. Alright, hopefully this is the last time I have to do that. The YouTube video I was uploading finally finished. So anyways, we're gonna tighten up these last screws. Okay, alright, they're good to go. Okay, then we're gonna put back these hinge covers. Alright, just like that. Same thing at the angle like that. Make sure that they go underneath the metal piece, that they're not on top. Oops, why did I take my bit out? We still need the Torx or T3 bit. Okay, and we're going to put these screws back in. Alright. I'm going to have to pause the video for a bit to clean up the dust on those. Alright, but let's put back all the screws first. Right, we're done with the T3. Let's switch to the T5. Alright, and we're going to put the battery screw back in place. Oops, sorry, I'm going out of view. Alright, and then we're going to reconnect the battery cable here. Pull that little plastic piece back. Get it lined up. Right, get that connector in place. Just like that. Alright, slot it in. Make sure it goes in as far as you can. There will be part of the gold part sticking out, that's normal. And then just rub your finger over the top of that latch to close it back down. Put that piece back in. Get the little circle part lined up with the screw. Fold that over. Alright, just like that. And push everything back in place. Alright, I'm going to clean the dust off and then we're going to put the cover back on. So I'll be back in a bit. All right, I'm back. So here you can see I cleaned out the fans. All right, and now we're just gonna put the bottom cover on, same thing as the other one. Put it at an angle. All right, lift up the front and then slide it in. Then go over to the other side, slide that in. All right, make sure that stays aligned, and then slide that in again. All right, make sure it slides in. Right, once you make sure both sides are slid in and these sides are nice and flush, push down, all right. And then we take the pentalobe 1.2 or P5 screws and put those back in. And we are pretty much good to go. So hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, please like and subscribe, help others find my videos. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. I am going to finish putting back the screws and see if this screen powers on with no issues. But other than that, we are done with this. All right. Okay, last screw. Alright, that's good. Done with the tweezers. Alright, let's see if the screen comes on or if I have to plug it in first. I feel it clicking, so hopefully we are good to go. Hopefully Apple didn't put some kind of stupid security on these to prevent swapping the screens. Okay, it looks like it's not turning on by itself, so I am going to plug it in, even though it was clicking, so it should be working. Okay, let's plug this in. Power it up. I feel the trackpad clicking. I heard it start charging, and there we go. Apple's going on. All right, so we are good to go. The one that was having the issue before is now good. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, there we go. It's staying on. The brightness is off. And usually after doing these, I like to do a PRAM and SMC reset. So PRAM reset. So first I'm going to shut it down. I like to do the SMC reset first. So SMC reset, you do Control Option Shift on the left side, and then you press the power button. After you do that, just give it a few seconds. We're going to do a PRAM reset. So to do the PRAM reset, right after you turn it on, do Command Option PNR. All right. The screen should, oops, okay. You can also click Restart on the computer and then Command Option PNR. You should see the screen, it'll come on and then it'll shut itself back off. And then that's how you know you did the PRAM reset properly. If you can't see the screen turning on, you can just hold the Command Option PNR for like 20-30 seconds and then let go. And usually the way you know you did it right is, as you can see, the brightness readjusted itself by itself. And that's how you know that it worked. Okay, and that's pretty much all there is to this. Again, hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, like, subscribe, comment, share this with your friends, help them find these videos so they can fix their own computers and upgrade. And thank you for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!